Archero knew farming was hard. Life had taught him that lesson early. He inherited the farm from his parents. It rested in a quiet valley. Green fields stretched under a wide sky. In the first years, things went well. The sun shone kindly. The rains came when needed. Crops grew tall and full. Archero felt hopeful then. He worked from dawn until dusk. His hands grew rough. His back grew strong. He loved the feel of the earth. He loved the rhythm of the seasons. But farming is a gamble. The last few years proved it. Misfortune arrived like an unwelcome guest. It decided to stay. The rains stopped coming reliably. Sometimes they fell too hard, flooding the young plants. Other times, the sun beat down fiercely. It baked the soil. The crops failed. Once, then again, and again. Each failure dug Archero deeper into debt. Hope began to wither. Like the thirsty corn in his fields, letters arrived from the bank. Sharp words on crisp paper. They spoke of missed payments. They spoke of deadlines. They threatened to take the farm. This land was everything. It held memories of his parents. It held the future for his children. Generations of his family had tilled this soil. Their sweat was part of the ground. Losing it felt like losing a part of himself. Fear became a constant shadow. It walked with him through the fields. It sat with him at the dinner table. He had to find a way. Any way. One hot summer morning, despair hung heavy in the air. The air itself felt thick. Archero heard talk in the nearby town. There was a horse auction. A flicker of something stirred within him. Not quite hope, more like desperation. He had almost no money left. What good would an auction do? Rich farmers would buy the best animals. Prices would be far beyond his reach. Yet something pulled him. A stubborn voice whispered, "Go. You must go." It felt like his last chance. A chance to turn the tide. He arrived at the auction grounds. Dust swirled in the heat. The air buzzed with noise. Men shouted bids. Horses whinnied nervously. Archero watched the animals. Magnificent creatures paraded past. Strong legs, gleaming coats. Horses bred for speed and power. Their lineages were announced proudly. Prices climbed higher and higher, far beyond anything Archero could afford. He felt his small hope shrink. This was not his world. Then, amidst the chaos, he saw him, tucked away in a corner, almost hidden. A horse unlike the others. He didn't stand tall or proud. His coat was dull. He looked thin. But it was his walk that caught Archero's eye. It was strange, uneven, twisted. One leg seemed to move out of sync with the others. It wasn't the confident stride of a working horse. It looked like a flaw, a weakness. Other potential buyers barely glanced his way. A few pointed and chuckled. "That one's more suited for the glue factory," one man laughed. Another added, "He walks like he's already tired. More for resting than for working." Their jokes stung Archero, but he kept watching. There was something about the horse, something in his quiet stance, and the price. The auctioneer barely seemed interested in him. The starting bid was incredibly low. Almost nothing. It costs nothing to try, Archero thought. His heart pounded against his ribs. His hands felt damp with sweat. The weight of his failing farm pressed down on him. He took a shallow breath. He raised his hand. Just a small gesture, but it felt enormous. For a fraction of a second, the noisy auction seemed to hush. All eyes turned to him, then to the strange horse, then back to him. The auctioneer looked surprised. "A bid for this one." He called out the low price. "Going once, going twice." Archero held his breath. "Please, no one else," he prayed silently. The hammer crashed down. "Sold." To the farmer in the back. It was done. The horse with the peculiar walk was his. A wave of dizziness washed over Archero. "What have I done?" he wondered. "This is madness." But looking at the quiet horse, a different thought surfaced. What did I have to lose? He walked towards his new purchase. The horse watched him approach. His eyes seemed calm, understanding. Archero led the horse home. The animal was indeed in poor condition. Ribs showed beneath his dusty coat. He walked slowly, that strange, uneven gait marking their path. Archero named him Cadence. It seemed fitting for a horse with such an odd rhythm. The days that followed were filled with hard work, harder than ever before. Archero knew Cadence needed care, patience, time. He fed him the best hay he could afford. He brushed his dull coat until it started to show a little shine. He spent hours just sitting with him in the small paddock, talking quietly, letting the horse get used to his presence. Then came the training. It was a struggle. Archero tried to teach Cadence the basics of farm work, pulling a small plow, carrying loads. Cadence tried. Archero could see the effort, but his peculiar gait made everything difficult. The uneven steps threw off the rhythm needed for steady pulling. The plow lurched awkwardly. Loads shifted precariously. Frustration gnawed at Archero. Doubts crowded his mind. The others were right. This horse is useless for farm work. I wasted my last coins. More than once, he slumped onto the fence rail. He watched Cadence stand patiently. He felt the urge to give up, to sell the horse for whatever he could get, to admit defeat. But then he would look into Cadence's eyes. There was no defiance there, no malice, just a quiet acceptance, a sort of silent understanding. It felt as if the horse knew Archero was struggling too, as if they were in this together. That look kept Archero going. He couldn't abandon Cadence. Not yet. He stopped trying to force Cadence into traditional tasks. Instead, he just watched him move. He walked him around the fields. He observed the strange, lopsided steps. He started to notice something new. It wasn't just awkwardness. There was a pattern, a unique cadence, just like his name suggested. When Cadence began to walk, a rhythm emerged, an irregular beat, step shuffle step. It looked wrong. Yet somehow it flowed. The horse moved with a surprising fluidity, a lightness that other more correctly built horses didn't possess. It was almost musical, as if Cadence danced to a tune only he could hear. Archero blinked. Was he imagining it? Was the stress making him see things he watched again, day after day? No, it was real. The horse was moving with a strange kind of grace. The uneven gait wasn't just a flaw. It was different, unique. A new idea began to form in Archero's mind. Maybe this peculiarity wasn't a disadvantage for everything. Maybe it was a special skill. The horse was clearly not suited for heavy field labor, but perhaps there was something else he could do, something that used his unique movement. Archero started to feel a renewed sense of purpose. He had made a gamble. Maybe, just maybe, it was starting to pay off. People in the village still whispered. They still thought Archero was a fool, but their opinions mattered less now. He had faith in Cadence, a small, fragile faith, but growing stronger each day. News arrived in the valley. The nearby city was organizing a local competition, a festival showcasing horse skills, not just racing or plowing, but agility, responsiveness, unique talents. Archero read the announcement. His heart gave a little jump. I have to try, he thought. We have to try. He signed Cadence up. He knew what people would think. He knew Cadence didn't look like the other competitors' horses. Those animals were sleek, powerful, perfectly trained. Cadence was still a bit thin. His walk was still undeniably strange. The whispers and sideways glances followed Archero everywhere. Some people didn't even bother whispering. They laughed outright. Archero and his dancing donkey. Someone jeered. Archero ignored them. He focused on Cadence. He practiced routines that highlighted the horse's strange rhythm. He didn't try to hide the uneven gait. He worked with it. He learned to anticipate the shifts in balance. He learned to guide Cadence through movements that flowed with his natural, peculiar grace. The day of the competition arrived faster than Archero expected. The sky was a brilliant blue. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves on the trees. The city square buzzed with excitement. Booths sold food and crafts. Families gathered. Competitors nervously groomed their horses. Many local farmers were there. Archero saw them watching him. Their faces held amusement, skepticism. Some were placing quiet bets. Bets that Archero and his odd horse would provide the day's entertainment. The laughing stuck. Archero felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Nerves mixed with a fierce determination. He knew everyone was watching, judging, waiting for him to fail. It made him uncomfortable, but deep inside, a small, steady flame burned. It whispered, "Don't give up. Show them." He adjusted Cadence's simple bridle. He looked into the horse's calm eyes. Cadence seemed unfazed by the noise and crowds, as if he understood the importance of this moment. "We did all we could," Archero murmured, stroking the horse's neck. "Let's just do our best." He watched the other competitors. Their horses were truly impressive. Polished coats shone in the sun. Muscles rippled beneath smooth skin. They moved with power and elegance, trotting smartly, cantering gracefully. performing complex maneuvers with ease. The crowd applauded each performance warmly. Archero felt a fresh wave of doubt. How could Cadence possibly compare? His horse wasn't beautiful, not in the conventional way. He wasn't exceptionally strong. His peculiar walk remained his defining feature, but Archero had learned to trust that unique rhythm. He felt a bond with Cadence, a connection forged through shared struggle. They were both underdogs, fighting for survival. Finally, their names were called, Archero and Cadence. The announcer's voice sounded slightly amused. Archero felt the weight of hundreds of eyes on him as he led Cadence into the makeshift arena. He swung himself into the saddle. It felt familiar, grounding. He settled his feet in the stirrups. His hands held the reins firmly. Cadence shifted slightly beneath him, waiting. Ready. Archero offered a small, tense smile only the horse could see, a smile filled with hope and fear. He knew ridicule waited if they failed, but there was no turning back now. The competition routine began. Other riders had demonstrated speed, precision, strength. Cadence started with his usual uneven steps. A ripple of quiet laughter spread through the onlookers. Some nudged each other. Here it comes, their expressions seemed to say. The joke, but then something shifted. Cadence found his rhythm. The peculiar gait wasn't just awkward anymore. It became deliberate, marked, almost hypnotic. Step, shuffle, step. Each movement flowed into the next. It wasn't the smooth glide of the other horses. It was something different, something captivating. Archero felt the change. He moved with Cadence, anticipating the unique Cadence, guiding him gently. They weren't fighting the strange walk, they were celebrating it. What began as hesitant steps transformed. Cadence seemed to dance across the arena floor. His movements were light, unexpectedly fluid. The irregular rhythm created a visual spectacle. The laughter died away. A hush fell over the crowd. People stopped talking. They simply watched. Their expressions changed from amusement to curiosity, then to surprise, then to fascination. Heads turned. Neighbors exchanged wide-eyed glances. Applause began, tentative at first. A few scattered claps, then more joined in, growing stronger, louder. It wasn't polite applause anymore. It was genuine enthusiasm. Archero felt it wash over him. He focused on Cadence, on their shared rhythm. The horse responded eagerly, moving with a newfound confidence. His strange gait, once a source of mockery, was now creating magic. It wasn't just a visual display. It felt deeper, visceral. It touched something in the people watching. The peculiar walk, far from being a flaw, was the very thing that made the performance unforgettable. It was Cadence's signature, his unique strength. Archero's heart hammered against his ribs, not with fear now, but with exhilaration. It didn't matter what anyone had thought before. They were here, doing their best. This imperfect, wonderful horse was giving his all. Archero was giving his all. The hopeless gamble felt like a triumphant arrival. This moment was the peak, the reward for all the struggle, for all the quiet faith. They finished the routine. Cadence stood still, breathing calmly. For a moment, absolute silence hung in the air. It stretched. Then, the applause erupted, thunderous, sustained. It filled the entire square. People were on their feet, cheering, whistling. Archero looked down at Cadence. The horse flicked an ear. A silent acknowledgement passed between them. This creature, with his strange way of moving, was far more than Archero had ever imagined. He was the key, the answer, the way forward. With every clap, Archero felt the heavy burden of his struggles lighten, just a little. The other competitors looked stunned. Those who had laughed earlier now seemed perplexed. Some stared openly, unable to believe what they had witnessed. Others edged closer, their faces filled with intrigue. Archero knew, deep in his bones, that something fundamental had shifted. Not just for him, but for everyone who saw Cadence dance. The competition ended, but the buzz of excitement remained. Archero swung down from Cadence's back. His legs felt shaky, but a sense of lightness filled him. He looked around. The faces watching him were different now. The mockery was gone, replaced by awe, respect. Even the most seasoned farmers, men who had seen countless horses, were murmuring amongst themselves, trying to make sense of the performance. Archero was still processing it himself. His heart raced, but the fear was gone. Pride surged through him. Pride in Cadence, pride in himself for believing when no one else did. He patted the horse's neck. Cadence stood serenely, as if he too knew they had won more than just a competition. They had proven something important. What looked like a defect was actually a unique gift. The peculiar gait wasn't a mistake. It was a trademark, a sign of something extraordinary. The judges conferred. Archero didn't dare to hope for victory, not against so many skilled riders and perfect horses. Then the announcement came, his name, the winner. Archero and Cadence. The crowd roared its approval. The feeling of victory was sweet, warm, but what touched Archero most deeply was the change in his peers. The farmers who had ignored him or laughed at him now approached with different eyes. One of the oldest farmers in the region, a man known for his stern judgment and deep knowledge of horses, walked up to Archero. A rare, sincere smile touched his weathered face. "You did something nobody expected today, Archero," he said, his voice gruff but kind. "That horse, he's got something rare, something special." He clapped Archero gently on the shoulder. "Never underestimate what looks weak, my friend. Never." Those simple words resonated deep within Archero. He knew in that moment his life was truly changing course. Word spread like wildfire through the region. The story of Archero and the dancing horse with the peculiar gait became a local legend. Invitations arrived for other competitions, other festivals. Cadence, the horse everyone had dismissed, became an admired figure. A symbol of unexpected beauty, a testament to how difference could be valuable. Archero's farm began to thrive again. The prize money helped pay off pressing debts, but more importantly, Archero himself had changed. He carried a newfound confidence. He faced the daily challenges of farming with renewed determination. He knew now that even in the deepest difficulties, opportunities for reversal existed. Obstacles could be transformed. The months that followed were still filled with hard work, but the fear of failure no longer haunted Archero. He knew that patience and perseverance could turn any situation around. The faith he had placed in Cadence, and the faith he had rediscovered in himself, was an unshakable foundation. He began looking at other animals differently, applying the same patient observation he had used with Cadence. He saw potential where others saw flaws. Slowly, carefully, Archero's farm transformed. It became more than just fields and barns. It became a symbol of overcoming adversity, a beacon of hope not just for his town, but for the entire region. The most profound change, however, was internal. Cadence taught Archero a fundamental lesson. True strength isn't always obvious. It doesn't lie in perfect appearances or first impressions. It lies in the ability to see beyond the surface, to find value in what seems imperfect, to recognize the unique spark that can make all the difference. Archero no longer saw life through the lens of limitation. Every challenge became a chance to adapt, to transform, to turn the impossible into the possible. Cadence, with his unique, uneven rhythm, remained his constant companion, a living, breathing reminder that answers often come from the most unexpected sources. The horse was more than just the key to Archero's financial salvation. He was a symbol that success finds those who keep going, those who dare to believe when faced with overwhelming adversity. What seemed like a mistake, a defect, had become Archero's greatest strength. He looked at Cadence, walking beside him as they headed back towards the fields they had saved together. A sense of shared victory settled over them. The journey had been impossibly hard, but they had made it. Cadence's peculiar gait wasn't a flaw. It was the beautiful, unforgettable rhythm of survival, the mark of hope realized. Archero was no longer the broken farmer. He was the man who saw a hidden dance and chose to believe in it until the very end.